Hey everyone, so if you've ever spent any time with JavaScript, you've probably run into this one question that, well, it kind of makes you scratch your head. It's this classic puzzle that trips up so many of us. But today, we're going to solve it once and for all. All right, let's just get right to it. The big question is this: is JavaScript a compiled language or is it an interpreted language? It almost feels like JavaScript has a bit of an identity crisis, right? But this isn't just trivia. The answer actually changes how you think about performance, how your code runs in the browser, and even how you debug. It's all about that magic step of turning what you type into a program that actually does something. So, to get to the bottom of this mystery, we're going to do a little detective work. We're opening up the case files on the two main suspects here, compilers and interpreters. Let's dig into each one and see what we can find. Okay, first up, let's meet our first person of interest, the compiler. You've definitely heard of this one. It's the approach that a lot of really powerful languages use, so let's break down exactly what a compiler does. The biggest thing you need to remember about a compiler is that it does its work all at once. Think of it like a translator who takes an entire book you've written, translates the whole thing from start to finish, and then, and only then, gives you back the finished translated version. Nobody gets to read a single page until the entire book is done. So what does that really mean? Well, first, it translates your whole program in one big go. Second, because it looks at everything up front, it can find all of your syntax errors at once before you even try to run the code. And third, once that translation is done, the final program can run incredibly fast because it's already in a language the computer understands perfectly. And this method, it's the engine behind some real heavy hitters in the programming world. We're talking languages like C, C++, and even Java. They all depend on this big, upfront compilation step before anything can actually run. All right, let's open our second case file. Time to meet the interpreter. Now, this is a totally different way of doing things, and, this is the category where people have traditionally put JavaScript. So unlike that meticulous book translator, an interpreter is more like a live translator you'd see at the UN. They don't wait for the whole speech to be finished. Nope. They listen to one sentence, translate it, and say it out loud, then they move on to the next. It's all happening in real time, one line at a time. So what's that like in practice? Well, it reads and runs your code line by line. If you have a mistake on line 20, your program will run just fine up until line 19, and then it'll stop dead in its tracks. And because it's constantly translating on the fly, the overall execution is usually a bit slower than a program that was pre-compiled. You see this approach a lot in languages that are known for being flexible and easy to get started with, like Python. And yeah, for a long, long time, this was exactly where JavaScript lived. But notice that keyword I used, traditionally. That's a huge clue in our little investigation here. Okay, before we deliver the final verdict, let's put our two suspects side by side. This chart really lays it all out, doesn't it? The compiler translates the whole thing at once for faster execution. The interpreter goes line by line, which is generally slower but more flexible. This setup is going to be perfect for the big reveal. So, we've seen the evidence. Is JavaScript a compiler or an interpreter? Well, here comes the twist in our story. The truth is, modern JavaScript isn't really one or the other. It's actually this super clever hybrid that takes the best parts of both. And this right here is the secret sauce of modern JavaScript engines. They don't pick a side. They use a team. You've got an interpreter working hand in hand with a special kind of compiler called a JIT, which stands for Just-in-Time Compiler. So how does this dream team actually work? Let's walk through it. First, the JavaScript engine starts off acting just like an interpreter. It reads your code line by line and gets it running quickly. But it's also watching what's happening. If it notices a piece of your code getting used over and over again, like, say, a function inside a loop, the just-in-time compiler kicks in. It takes that hot piece of code, compiles it into super fast, optimized machine code, and then swaps it in. So the next time that loop runs, it's not being interpreted anymore. It's running at blazing fast compiled speed. And this table really shows where JavaScript fits into the big picture today. You've got your fully compiled languages like C++, you've got your purely interpreted ones like Python, but then you have this modern hybrid category that uses JIT compilation, and that's where you'll find both Java and, you guessed it, JavaScript. It's a pretty brilliant modern solution. All right, so after all that detective work, what's the bottom line? Let's boil everything we've just talked about down into that perfect, sharp answer you can whip out in a job interview. Or, just to sound really smart at your next team meeting. This is it. Right here, this is the sentence to remember. JavaScript is an interpreted language that uses just-in-time compilation for faster execution. It's perfect. It's accurate, it's short, and it proves you get the nuance. You're acknowledging its history as an interpreted language, but you're also showing you know about its modern, high-performance secret weapon. And really, that's what this all comes down to. JavaScript's modern approach gives it the absolute best of both worlds. You get the flexibility and the fast startup of an interpreter, but you also get the raw, incredible speed of a compiler for the parts of your code that need it most. So that kind of leaves us with one last thing to think about. This whole pattern of taking two classic ideas and smashing them together to create something way better, it's not just a JavaScript thing. So my question for you is, what other technologies can you think of that do this, that blend old school approaches in new, clever ways to get the best of both worlds? Definitely something to chew on. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.